I didn't get too much negativity because I think the people I was around didn't really understand either. So, for example, the first person that helped us buy our first house was a friend of my sister, and she had just gotten her real estate license. So I don't think she really knew what was going on.
Mhm.
She was just like, "Hey, we want a house. We know her. Can you help us buy a house?" And she found us a house, and the numbers seemed nice, and so we bought it. We went and got our first hard money loan. We didn't really understand it per se. It was like, oh yeah, go ahead. Rich dad, poor dad's like, yeah, put the down payment on a credit card. So we did. Like that's what they said in class. So we didn't know. But back, the numbers were cheap, so it wasn't a lot of money, but still, it was, would I recommend that today? Absolutely not. But back then it was cheap and the numbers actually worked, and we paid the card off pretty quickly and so forth. So it was all right. Went to my first closing. I'll never forget. And there, you see a HUD for the first time. There's all these fees, and I'm like, and of course, I don't really know what they are. And then one of them was like the Patriot fee. I've never seen it since. I only saw it at that closing. I'm like, I think they made that up on the spot. And like, oh yeah, it's required by the government. That was a total lie. But I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I paid for a Patriot fee, whatever that, I don't know. I hope it helped the Patriots somewhere. I just don't know. Uh, so that was how our first deal got bought. Yeah, it was a foreclosed property because the first class we took was foreclosure. So we went and bought a foreclosed property. That's what they said to do. It's what we did.
So,
So
so with regards to that, do you still have the property now, or it's been sold a long time ago?
it was sold not terribly long ago, but I mean, we did sell it. It was a little bit heartfelt. Like, we sold our first house and stuff. But yeah, we did sell, and of course, it appreciated tremendously, which was helpful.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we learned a lot from that house, right? There was a lot of firsts. There was a lot of firsts. That was our first hard money lender. It was our first time seeing a hard money lender go out of business. That was interesting.
Mm.
So we got to see how that went down. And that was, of course, looking back, it makes more sense. But at the time, you're like, it's weird. It was our first time we saw a bank fail.
Mm.
So if you called in our first crash, a lot of banks were failing. Well, when we went to refinance the first time the hard money loan, this was going to be a rental.
Mm.
There was a bank down in Ocala, Florida. I cannot for the life of me remember what they're called. I'm sure we could Google it. But back at the time, it was called a wholesale lender. And so apparently the day before we closed, they shut down FHA lending at that bank. But we were apparently okay because we were going to be a conventional loan, 30-year loan fixed, nothing fancy.
Mhm.
So we go to close the refinance and we signed, we closed, and that day, apparently, they shut down the conventional lending. So we were told your loan was queued to fund, but because of what the Fed did, it never funded.
Oh, wow.
And so our attorney told us, and I believe this was the following day, well, technically, you're not supposed to have a signed closing package and not fund, like that's against the law or breaks a rule or whatever it is. And I was like, well, what's the repercussion? They're like, well, you could sue the federal government.
Good luck.
And you're thinking, might be a little bit of a stretch. So all of a sudden, we had to figure out how to reclose a refi because the Fed shut down my very first refinance experience on our first investment property.
Wow. 3. So if you had to relate success to a termite mound, how is success like a termite mound?
That's very creative. How is success like a termite? Well, okay. Termites are extremely resilient. I live in Georgia. We have lots of termites. You can't get rid of them. They never go away, and they always find a way to continue living and continue doing whatever it is they do when they're not eating your house. They're always looking for food. They're always on the hunt. They're always looking for the next thing to accomplish, which for them, I guess, is eating houses. So, so before we exterminate them, but they're always on the hunt, right? And I think being an entrepreneur and having success is saying you're always hunting, you're always looking for the next thing, you're resilient and you never stop and you never, ever, ever go away.
There you go. That's how success is like a termite mound.